Have you ever worked hard for something, put in all the hours, sacrificed weekends, gave it everything you had, only to face disappointment in the end? That sinking feeling of not getting the promotion, the opportunity, or the recognition you thought was coming your way? Well, that's exactly what happened to Mark in the story you're about to hear. In today's video, we're going to dive into Mark's journey as he struggles with disappointment and frustration after losing out on a promotion he worked so hard for. But more importantly, we'll learn how an encounter with his calm and composed neighbor, Paul, changes his perspective on failure and success. Paul introduces Mark to the concept of Stoicism and the dichotomy of control, a powerful tool that helps Mark realize what he can and cannot control in his life. And here's the best part. After you've heard Mark's story, we'll be sharing practical tips on how you can take these same Stoic principles and apply them to your own life. If you've ever felt weighed down by things you can't control, this story and what comes after might be just the turning point you need. So stick around and let's get started. It had been over a week since Mark lost the promotion, but the disappointment still weighed on him. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't shake the frustration. He had worked late for months, sacrificed weekends, and yet it didn't seem to matter. The question, "Why didn't they pick me?" kept replaying in his mind, gnawing at him. As he walked home in the pouring rain, his umbrella offered little comfort. The steady downpour matched his mood. He felt drained, defeated. His friends had tried to cheer him up, but their words felt empty. Suddenly, headlights appeared behind him. A silver sedan slowed down, and the passenger window rolled down. It was Paul, a neighbor Mark had always admired from a distance. Paul seemed like a man who had his life together, calm and composed. "Mark, right? Need a lift? It's coming down hard," Paul called out. Mark hesitated, but with the rain pouring down, he accepted. "Yeah, thanks," he said, sliding into the car with a sigh of relief. Paul drove in silence for a moment before glancing over. "Rough day?" Mark shrugged, watching the rain blur the streetlights through the window. "It's been a rough few days, actually," he admitted. "I was up for a promotion, one I've been working towards for months, and I didn't get it. Feels like all that effort was for nothing." Paul nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I get that," he said. "I've been there before." They pulled into the street, but instead of getting out right away, Paul parked in front of their houses. He leaned back in his seat. The rain pattered steadily on the roof, filling the car with a soft, calming rhythm. Paul looked over at Mark, sensing the need to talk more. "Want to stay in here for a minute? Sounds like you've got a lot on your mind." Mark sighed again, rubbing his temples. "It's just been hard to shake. I keep thinking about what I could have done differently, replaying everything in my head." Paul listened quietly before speaking. "You know, a few years ago I was in a similar situation. Felt like nothing was going my way, and I was frustrated all the time. But then I started learning about Stoicism." Mark glanced over, curiosity piqued. "Stoicism? Like the philosophy?" Paul smiled slightly. "Yeah, it's one of the key principles of something called the dichotomy of control. It's pretty straightforward but powerful. It teaches that there are things in life that you can control, your actions, your decisions, and things you can't control, like outcomes or other people's choices. Once I learned to focus on what I could control and let go of the rest, everything got lighter. Mark looked out of the window, thinking, "So you're saying I'm stuck on things I can't change?" "Exactly," Paul replied. "You worked hard, you put in the effort, but the decision wasn't yours to make. It's out of your control. What is within your control now is how you respond. You can focus on what you'll do next, how you'll keep growing, but you've got to stop fixating on what you can't change." Mark felt the words sink in, deeper than any well-meaning advice he'd gotten so far. The idea of letting go of the outcome was freeing. The knot in his chest loosened just a bit. "And how do you let it go?" Mark asked, his voice softer now. Paul smiled. "It takes practice, but start small. Every time you find yourself focusing on what you can't change, remind yourself what's really in your control. Your actions, your growth, your next steps. Focus on that." Mark nodded slowly, feeling the tightness in his chest start to loosen for the first time in days. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I think I can do that." The rain continued to fall, softer now, and the silence between them felt peaceful. After a few minutes, Mark finally opened the door. "Thanks, Paul," he said. "I really needed that." Paul nodded with a smile. "Anytime." As Mark walked toward his house, a sense of relief washed over him. Determined to change, he began applying Paul's advice in the days that followed. Instead of dwelling on the lost promotion, he focused on what he could control. He signed up for a leadership course to build his skills, taking proactive steps to improve his chances next time. With each decision, Mark felt more confident and in control of his future, realizing that his self-worth wasn't tied to external outcomes, but to his own growth and actions. Now that you've heard Mark's story and how he used one of the Stoic principles to regain control of his life, you might be wondering, how can I apply this to my own life? Great question. Let's break it down into 3 simple steps you can start using today. 1. Identify what's in your control and what isn't. One of the biggest takeaways from Stoicism is the dichotomy of control. In every situation, ask yourself, what parts of this are within my control and what parts aren't? Often we waste so much time and energy stressing over things we can't influence, like other people's opinions, the outcome of decisions we've already made, or even the weather. By focusing only on what you can control, your actions, your reactions, your effort, you free yourself from unnecessary anxiety and frustration. For example, in Mark's case, he couldn't control the decision about the promotion, but he could control how he responded. Once you identify what's within your control, you can start to direct your energy toward what matters and let go of the rest. 2. Practice letting go, step by step. Letting go of what you can't control doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice. Start small. The next time you find yourself stressing over something outside of your control, like a delayed flight or a bad day at work, remind yourself, this isn't within my control. Take a deep breath and focus on what you can do in that moment, whether it's finding a new flight or simply adjusting your attitude. Each time you do this, you'll get better at it. And the more you practice, the more you feel the weight of unnecessary stress lifting off your shoulders. Just like Mark felt when he realized he didn't have to obsess over the promotion anymore. And if there's something you're struggling to let go of, feel free to ask about it in the comments. I'd love to offer some advice. 3. Focus on growth and progress, not perfection. Remember, life isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Stoicism teaches us that our worth isn't tied to external outcomes or achievements. Instead, it's about the effort we put into growing, learning, and moving forward. Mark signed up for a leadership course to build his skills and improve his chances for the next promotion. That's a great example of focusing on growth rather than perfection. In your own life, focus on small, achievable goals that help you move forward, whether it's learning a new skill, taking on more responsibility at work, or simply becoming more mindful of your thoughts and actions. The key is to measure your progress by your personal growth, not by the results you achieve or how others perceive you. So there you have it. 3 simple but powerful steps to start using one of the Stoic principles in your everyday life. The dichotomy of control is just one of many concepts in Stoicism, but by focusing on what you can control, practicing the art of letting go, and directing your energy toward growth, you'll find yourself feeling lighter, less stressed, and more confident in the way you approach life's challenges. If there's a topic you'd love for me to explore in a future video, whether it's more about Stoicism or another area of life where you feel stuck, please drop your suggestions in the comments. I'd be happy to create more content that speaks to what you're facing. Lastly, if you found this story and these tips helpful, it would mean the world to me if you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It's a small thing for you, but it's a huge help for me. It lets me know that you're enjoying the content, and it helps me create more videos like this to share with you. And hey, by subscribing, you won't miss any future videos that might just help you transform your mindset, just like Mark did. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, focus on what you can control and let the rest go.